Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody? I was just getting some dropped frames a minute ago, so I'm hoping the internet's going to be okay. We're going to find out, I guess. Let me know if we encounter any issues, but kind of looking okay at the moment, so fingers crossed that will stay that way. How is everyone doing? See a few people in the chat. Hello, Cosmodium. Hello, Nosferatu. Hello, Lee. Hello, Fedor. Thank you all for joining us. I think today is going to be a fun one. Obviously, you can see this is going to be God of War today. So if you've never played God of War before, great game. If you have played it, this soundtrack's going to give you all the feels. And if you haven't, it's still a great piece of music by great composer Bear McCreary, well known for all kinds of films, TV, games as well, obviously, including God of War. Great. I'm glad you can see me. Thank you, Cosmodium. Hello, Brandon. Yes, I'll keep an eye. I was seeing some dropouts, so we're just going to hope for the best, but it's looking pretty stable at the moment. If I leave, I'll be back. We'll figure it out somehow. Hello, Sightless Combat. Thank you for joining us. Yes, so this is going to be good fun today, I think. We're going to do the God of War theme. I've already made a start on it, but we're going to sort of do the second half. We're not going to do the whole thing because it's like a 4 or 5 minute track. That would take too long for hour and a half, 2 hour stream. But I've done sort of the first minute or so. We're going to have a look at what we've done, and then we're going to carry on and do the rest of it as well. And I think it's going to be really cool. I think these libraries that I'm using today work really well for this kind of music. Let's break Cubase again. We are ready. Yeah, we're going to hopefully not break Cubase. We're not going to have any drops. We're not going to have any issues. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm back in my studio today. Last week, I was obviously with Ollie. We did a really fun sketch to score. That was great fun. Always good to hang out with Ollie, do some music writing. That was cool. But this week, I'm back in my studio. And if you weren't with us last week, just a bit of housekeeping so you guys know. Next week, there won't be a stream. It's just going to be a one-off. We'll be back normal from the following Tuesday onwards. But next week, there's not going to be a stream. And there's a really good reason for that. All will become clear in time. I think Ollie sort of hinted that it was all for good reasons, but we're not quite ready to explain everything yet. But when we do, I think it'll be worthwhile. We'll occasionally miss streams if we're busy with other things, I suppose. But we're going to try and make it very much the exception and not the rule. So I think we've done streams most of this year, if not all of this year. So this is going to be the first one we miss, but it's all for good reason. Looking forward to next week's surprise launch. Regarding the best game score, do you know the Hollow Knight and what you think about it? I don't know the Hollow Knight very well. I know what you mean, but I haven't actually heard the score. So I'm going to have to listen to that. I will listen to it and let you know not next week, the week after, what I think. Because that's going to be very interesting. I always love it when people recommend stuff. So if you ever have recommendations, game soundtracks, film soundtracks, whatever it might be, do let me know. I really, really enjoy all the recommendations. Love the sketch to score. Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, it was really good fun. Was playing some of the Oblivion remake last night. Made me think the Oblivion Skyrim main theme would be so cool. I agree. Elder Scrolls of some description would be very good fun. So maybe we should look at doing that at some point. But yeah, I love the Elder Scrolls music. It's been very, very cool. And I think this one's cool as well. As I said, I've sort of already made a start on this one, but it's going to be good to carry on today, I think, and just get stuck into it. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other housekeeping that we need to go through before we launch in. I don't think there is. As we said, next week, I think we're going to have the week off for good reasons. As I said, everything will become clear. And then following on from the week after that, Tuesday will be back as normal, which will be cool. TF2 is my absolute favorite game soundtrack. You should check that out. I will check it out, Lee. I definitely will. I've not listened to as many game soundtracks as I should have. I have my favorites. I mean, I grew up in like the 80s and 90s, and I mean, I loved Final Fantasy and Chrono Trigger and a lot of the kind of Japan, the JRPGs and stuff. Silent Hill. Silent Hill is an incredible game, incredible soundtrack. But that was kind of my thing. I lost touch a little bit in the 2000s and 2010s. World of Warcraft, obviously, and Elder Scrolls. All great. Everybody on YouTube is doing clear, obscure score reaction videos. Have you seen that? I haven't. I have heard the score, though. Very cool. And we were thinking at some point about maybe doing something around clear, obscure. I'm not sure we're going to get around to it, but very cool. I haven't played the game, though, so I don't know much about the game, really. But yeah, what I've heard is really cool. Hello, Xenos. Thank you for joining us. We have quite a few in today, which is really cool. Great to see all you guys. So, yes, God of War, we're going to do, I suppose, the main theme. I think it is called the main theme. And as I say, if you know this game, if you played this game, you're going to it's going to give you all the feels because this is just such a great score, and very memorable if you played the games. Fun fact, earlier on in the year, I think most of the Audio Imperia team went to the PlayStation concert in London, and they played this live. That was very, very cool. First time I'd seen it played live, and yeah, it didn't disappoint. You just get a bunch of guttural low singing, some big percussion. What more do you want? Fellow says, I definitely recommend it, and especially the Grim Troop one. It's great, and I think HK is a whole of a style as a whole thing. Yes, I agree. I'm going to have to check it out. If you guys are on our Discord, if you're not, make sure you are. But if you are, post these in. I might actually make a post soon and ask for some recommendations, because I really need to like listen to, what's going on. Sometimes I get a bit out of touch. Zenos says, by the way, my absolute favorite video game soundtrack is the classic old Medal of Honor Underground from PSX by Michael Giacchino. I think it's the best game soundtrack ever. I remember that game soundtrack. It's a very, very, very good soundtrack. Metal Gear Solid, I always remember that's a great soundtrack. And Metal Gear Solid 2, who I think was done by either Harry Gregson Williams or Rupert Gregson Williams. I never know who. I think it's Harry Gregson Williams. But that was always a cool soundtrack too. Really enjoyed that. But yeah, most of the soundtracks that I remember are like old now. They're like 25, 30 years old, if not, maybe 20 years old. But I need to get back in the game with some of these. But I have heard this soundtrack, of course, God of War, and it's a great soundtrack. Would you someday do a Benjamin Warfish British composers composition? That would be really cool, actually. I mean, Benjamin is a great composer, and he's done some really good scores. So we should definitely dig into some Benjamin Warfish. I think that would be great. Very John Williams-esque. Cool. I mean, I'm always up for some John Williams-esque music. Good old-fashioned orchestral scoring always appeals to me. But I think, yeah, Cosmodium, Benjamin Warfish would be a really interesting composer to have a look at. He's done some really good scores. So that would be very cool. We'd have to maybe think of a film, one of his scores that we like that we could do, or we could do something in the style of. But I think that's a good shout, because we haven't done much. I don't think we've done any Benjamin Warfish. And he's one of our sort of biggest composers at the moment. So it makes sense. Oh, what have I done here? Just setting up my... there we go. There we go. Setting up my Cubase. Something went a bit weird for a moment, but it's all back to normal. Okay. Shall we dig in? Shall we move over to our door and take a look? We should have moved. All looks good. Yeah. So here is the door. By the way, I've got 3 monitors now. I've finally got my other monitor set up, but I'm still getting used to where I'm going to put everything. And yeah, so you guys are here in the chat now, but I've got some of my OBS stuff up here. So now I'm looking around everywhere. But the most important thing is my Cubase is right here. And that's what we're going to be studying for the most part today. So you can see I've already done the first section. To a relative degree. It's not by any means finished, and the programming is a little bit wonky here and there, but it's mostly in place. And I think Dolce is sounding great for this. We've got a bit of Araya. We've got some Jaeger and Talos, as always, and they work great for this music. Chorus, I mean, it's just a workhorse, and considering it's not a specialized choir for this kind of music, sounds great to me. And then we've got some percussion from Jaeger and Nucleus, and we've also got some Artifact Reanimate trailer hits in here as well, which is just giving some of that larger-than-life boom. Cosmodium, do you mean which monitors, as in studio monitors, as in music monitors? They're JBL monitors. They're pretty good. This room is not the best room for acoustic treatment and general sound anyway, so these monitors are decent, but this room is never going to be an incredible room. I am going to look into sort of getting more acoustic treatment, proper acoustic treatment up, because I really do need to turn this room into a bit more of a good listening space. But I mostly use headphones, and luckily if I ever need anything done, it usually goes off to a mixer. Like if I do a trailer thing or I work on a TV thing or something, someone far better than me takes my rough mix and makes it all sound brilliant. So yeah, but these are JBL monitors, JBL Professional. I'm actually not sure what model they are. But they're pretty decent. They're sort of mid-range, not the most expensive by any means, but they're a bit up from sort of the cheaper studio monitors. So yeah, they're a good mid-range monitor. Screen monitors and same monitors. Well, I use two. I've actually got 2 Asus monitors, 4K. They're called gaming monitors. Again, I'm not sure what the actual sort of model of them are, but they're Asus gaming monitors, 4K. And then I've got this full HD one, so FHD MSI monitor, which is just my kind of backup side monitor. It's going to be where chat goes and where I put, if I'm working on music, I got documents or stuff here. I just needed like another monitor, and I was getting, what was happening was, long boring story, but I had my monitor side by side, but I was working like this, and I was getting really bad shoulder problems because I was always looking over here. And then one day I was like, why do I not have my main monitor just right in front of me? But this desk, when I put it right in front of me, the other monitors were too big to get either side, so I had to put it up here. And then I got my third monitor, which I'm going to put in portrait mode. Portrait mode? What am I thinking? Yeah, portrait mode. Basically up, vertical, so it's a long way up. And then I can use that for documents and chat. It'll be really good for chat because I'll be able to get it scrolling lengthways, so I'll be able to see more of the chat. Right now, it's just temporarily in normal mode and, just kind of plonked on my desk. But in the next few days, I'm going to get it nicely set up, I think. By the way, it would be incredible if you could do some deep walkthrough your last Jaws theme in the style of Brian Tyler. Thank you, Xenos. And yeah, we could definitely do that. We could definitely look at it. I am going to make, as always, the stream tracks and probably that track available in our Discord. I haven't got around to uploading the next batch, but it will be in the next few days because a couple of people have asked me about previous streams and this stream and the other stuff. So I will get it all up on YouTube. Can't speak today. Get up on Discord, and we can definitely have a look at that track if you want to. It was really good fun to make, and yeah, it would be cool to dive into and have a look at how we put it all together. And I love Tom's track as well. I don't know if you guys have seen this video that we did. Me and Tom do a little composer showdown. We pick a composer, we pick a theme, and then we just try and do it in that style. It's all a bit, bit of fun. I mean, you're never going to bash out a casual Brian Tyler or Ludwig Göransson because they're very, very good composers. But, we do our best just to sort of imitate some of the things they do, have some fun with it. I got Brian Tyler for Jaws, and it was great fun. He's always using those drums and really nice beefy, brass and stuff. So it was great fun to just dig in and do a kind of Jaws version. And I think Tom did a great one as well. He had a Ludwig Göransson, which is a little bit more challenging in some ways, I think, because he's got a very eclectic style. But I think Tom knocked it out of the park. Got the old 808s on it and some good sound design and put some guitars in there and stuff. It was cool. I would say that your channel is the best knowledge sharing channel. Thank you very much, Cosmodium, in 2025. That's what we're aiming to do, is just make this a real community, share knowledge, get knowledge from you guys, just have fun. That's what we were saying when we first started trying to put this together, is just, you just want a space where you can hang out with other composers and have a good time. And, we can learn from you and you can learn from us, and we can just share ideas, which is what our Discord's been all about. And of course, our YouTube channel, we're trying to put hints and tips up and just have some fun mocking up some cool music and using our libraries. Because, this is the thing, isn't it? Sometimes you can get detached from what you're doing and you're making libraries and don't have the time to actually just use them. And it's always fun actually having some time to use them. And then you realize how cool they are and what you can do with them. Looking forward. It's a really great track. Your interpretation. Thank you very much, Xanos. I'm really glad you enjoyed it, and I'm glad you could hear the Tyler thing, because that's always the challenge with those ones. We're like trying to get the feel of the composer. And with one previous, we did John Williams and Hans Zimmer for the Avengers theme, and that was tough because John Williams is just a master, and even trying to sound halfway like him is very, very difficult, especially with virtual instruments. So that was a tough one, but it was good fun. And Tom did a great version of Hans Zimmer there as well. Really cool. Worth checking out if you haven't already. Okay, should we have a listen to what we've got so far? What I'm going to do is play the whole thing. You're going to hear the first half, which is a relatively fleshed out mock-up. And then it's going to go to pianos, where we're going to do the back half, and we're going to do that live. But we'll listen to everything first, then we'll sort of have a look at what we've done. And that really establishes the template for how we move on to the rest of the piece. And we're not going to aim to get it 100% accurate. We're just going to aim to get the vibe and get it as accurate as we can. But if we miss a, cymbal crash or a little flourish or something, that's fine. We're just trying to have some fun and put this together and get the vibe of it. So here we go. God of War by Bear McCreary, the main theme. So I think that's as far as we're going to try and get today. And that's quite a lot of work, so we may not get all the way, but we'll see what we can do. It goes on for another 2 minutes or so, and it goes into all different sections, which are beautiful, but I think it would just be too much work to try and do in, an hour or so. But yeah, great piece of music. I really love this section of music. I think it's like so, simple but effective, and great sort of key changes as we move up through these kind of major and minor chords here. Pretty nice, and it sounds great. Just better play the strings, because I just, Dolce has this, like, the way it's been recorded is very emotional, so all the emotions in the samples. Sometimes you want really nice, clean, transparent samples, that don't have a lot of particular character, because you want to work them into a busy mix or something. And you get these, what we sometimes call workhorse libraries, which are sort of bread and butter. They work for most, if not all, cases to a degree. And then you get some libraries which are more specialist, and they've been recorded and designed in a way that they're for specific things. Dolce was designed as like a romantic chamber library, but it actually works really well as just like an emotional cinematic library as well. And I think it sounds great in this. I've done little to no real programming, bit of mod wheel, but I think it all sounds brilliant here. Right, it sounds like you programmed all this vibrato and all these kind of incredible little flourishes and stuff. It's pretty basic when we dig into it. It's just that the samples are so well recorded and captured in such a way that like all that emotion is kind of baked in, and it just sounds great. Yeah, for stuff like this, it's perfect. And we got a little bit of array in there, just layered in, just to give it some kind of top end energy and a bit of cinematic kind of depth. So you can hear very subtle. Just adds a bit of top end. Most of it's Dolce though. Okay, let's have a little look at what we've got going on. We'll just break this down for the next 5 minutes and then we'll move on. We'll kind of show you what we have going on. The first thing we have is chorus. I'm actually mixing the traditional syllables and the energetic syllables just to give a little bit of weight. I haven't worried about you can choose the syllables if you want to and make it very precise. I haven't done that, so they're not the best program, but in the context of the mix, they just kind of work. Cosmodium says, as a budding composer, would you work on piano sketches and then orchestrate into full score? Or should it be driven by patch-based approach? Pick X, Y, Z patches and compose on the go. I think this is a really interesting question. Great question, Cosmodium. And I think it depends to a degree on your goals. If you want to be as expressive as possible musically, if you really just want to make the music as complex and as sort of personal and as well orchestrated and arranged and thought about as possible, I would maybe sketch on the piano, really get an idea of your melodies and themes and counter melodies and all of the stuff that's going on. Most of the really great composers over the years have sketched at piano first to some degree. If you want a really, really, really great mock-up, if you want something that sounds incredible and sounds as close as you can to the real thing, you usually have to work slightly the other way and think about what are the instruments really good at and what can you get out of them. And if they're a little bit weak in certain ways, then maybe try and hide some of that stuff in a way. I always like to think of it as like makeup, like when you do like stage makeup or makeup on a film, it's larger than life. You're not actually, when they do like abs in, a film or something, like they'll really spray them on so they look like ridiculous abs, but then on the camera, they kind of look real. I'm going somewhere with this. It's not just a random thing about abs, but it's like, it's an illusion, right? And it's the same with virtual instruments. Usually you're creating the illusion of something. So you're having to work with the strength of the samples. You're having to sometimes overhype certain areas. Sometimes you're having to do things that you wouldn't normally do in traditional arranging and orchestration to get everything to sound the way you want it to. So the shorthand answer is, I think if you are looking purely to compose and the virtual instruments are just designed to be a mock-up of what you're doing, to as whatever degree they can be, I'd maybe work at the piano more and think about ultimately what, if you had a full orchestra available at your fingertips, what would you want them to play? If you want to get your mock-up sounding incredible, you sometimes have to think more about what the virtual instruments are capable of and do some trickery and things like that. to get them to sound the way you want them to. Same with trailer music. I mean, we just did a video actually on using synths with virtual instruments to kind of get them to sound a bit larger than life. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes you have to do things that are not traditional or don't seem obvious, but they make everything sound the way you want it to. No problem, Cosmodium. So yeah, there's a bit of a long-winded way of saying, yeah, it depends how you're approaching things. If you want to write like John Williams and you want all that incredible complexity, but you also want to write quite fast, you might have to work at the piano and you know, some of the quality may be sacrificed with the virtual instruments because that requires a ton of programming. If you want to make things sound really good, like trailer music, it sounds huge, or big orchestral music, sometimes you want to work with the virtual instruments more and think about you know, what they're good at and how you can make them sound the way you want them to. Okay, so let's have a listen to these in isolation. Pretty simple. It's just this very straightforward, but down here. It sounds great. I mean, I think chorus just captures this perfectly. So on their own. So we have this kind of drone of the fifths. And then, and those two together just creates this really deep, kind of quite menacing wall of sound, which is obviously perfect for God of War. The strings are pretty much just doing the same as the vocals at this stage. You know, there's a combination of held notes to kind of give some tension, and then it's basically just mimicking the vocal, the ascending pattern. And I've got this on a combination of Araya and Dolce, just basically choosing the patches that I like. Some of the Araya stuff has a little bit more cinematic bite. Some of the Dolce stuff has a wonderful kind of depth to it. So I'm combining them together to make them work as best they can. Just a really nice, big, menacing, beefy sound. And then pretty much the only other thing we got going on here is the percussion, which is a combination of timpani. There's some tam-tams, which is like a big gong. There's actually a bass drum from Nucleus here, and then some Grand Casa, which are like big orchestral bass drums. Just big, ominous, you know, kind of low-sounding drums. Hello, SD Sheridan. Yes, Zenos. Yeah, it's like a Diaz Irae motive. So that's what we have going on here. And then we have these rolls on a combination of the Grand Casa rolls and the tom rolls together. So they sound like this. I like this because the Grand Casa gives the big low-end energy here. That's where you're getting that big cinematic rumble from. And the toms just give a bit more definition. You can actually, you can see I've programmed in the toms here. So a little velocity curve and then programmed in the toms, and they sound like that. So not quite as realistic by themselves, but blended in with the low roll of the Grand Casa. I could probably take them down a little bit even when I come to mixing. Just sounds really cool. And then we have these trailer hits, really low in the mix. Might need to come up a little bit. They're here. But they're just adding a nice big thump to those downbeats. Next thing to happen really is this little melody on the horns, which is actually probably a little bit loud on the old mod wheel there. Probably start there. Little tip here, which you may sometimes do in a real orchestra, but I'm doing it here because it's more of a virtual instrument trick, is I'm using the violins from the Marcato violins from Dolce to double that melody. It gives a little bit of bite and attack. It's a technique you might find in real orchestration, but it works particularly here. Sounds sinister, I love it. Yeah, it's really cool. I recognize you from Stefan's stream, right? I'm not sure. I don't think so, because I haven't been on Stefan's stream, but maybe. I don't know who Stefan is. You'll have to tell me. Hi, Mama Symphonia. Thanks for joining us. So we have this going on. And then we have a little moment where we just have these held chords and the percussion drops out, the voices drop out, which gives this nice sort of moment of kind of, you know, repose, I guess, really. So it just sounds like this. Then we're back to the same thing again. So at this point we have on the brass, low brass is taking the root notes here, pretty straightforward. Trombones are taking the chords to fill out the harmony a bit. Just really nice, and then the melody is on the horns. And then we have a kind of counter melody or a counter thing going on in the violins, and they're harmonizing as well. The first and second violins playing very slightly different things, creating this beautiful harmonic texture that's going on underneath the main brass line. Oh, sorry, ST Sheridan. Yes, that makes more sense. I was going to say I haven't been on the stream, but that makes sense if Xenos has. And this is a nice little technique here. So this is something you do see in quite a lot of really good orchestration. Have a look at this line here. In the first violins, we have this, which is like a kind of triplet run up to that high note. So it's an arpeggiated triplet run. In the second violins, we have this going on. A little sort of, well, it's basically a tuplet of 6 here. So have a listen to how these sound. So it's a different thing going on. And at first you might think it wouldn't work. Hey, could you have this big sort of blurry mess of the triplets and then the 6 notes in the tuplet? But actually they work really nicely together to create this kind of blended texture. And this is something you often see in orchestral music, blended textures. So 2 different rhythmic textures or 2 slightly different things going on. But when they overlap, they create this much more beautiful kind of flowing texture. It's a really good technique. So it just creates a lot of complexity and this kind of lovely yearning sound going on here. Hey, Etudes. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, this is a really nice little moment here. Nothing much more to report here. We have the basses basically doing the bassing. Is that a word? Let me just make sure. Yeah, that's all cool. Let me just make sure if I got my basses being shown here. There they are. I don't know why they've gone weird here. If I got group editing on or something. Yeah, for some reason that's gone on. Okay. So, cool. And then we have... So basses in octaves in the cello and the basses is a very common thing. And then we also have the 5th in there as well. So very thick, kind of lush sound. And then the viola is just providing a bit of harmony. It's a really nice big wall of sound there. So tuplets in Cubase, to my knowledge, and I might be totally wrong about this, are not easy. Triplet tuplets are fine. That's easy enough to do. You'll see they are here. And there may be a way to do it. I'm sure there is a way to macro this. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So triplet tuplets are fine. If you want to do triplets in 3s or 6s, that's easy enough. Anything more than that, if you want to do 5s or 7s or 9s, it's complicated. And you basically, how I do it is just eyeball it. So this one's fine. But as we go further on, you'll probably see another one where I've kind of eyeballed and we're going to have to fix it up as we go. And I just do it by sound. One important thing to say is, when you have quite complex tuplets, like 5ths are not too bad. When you get to 7ths, 9ths, 11ths, 13ths, sometimes you can get right up to 13ths, 15ths even sometimes. The actual musicians, if you ever play this in an orchestra, they don't play it that precisely either, because at that speed and that number of notes, the best you can do is just have your 2 target notes and just sort of get it roughly in that time frame. So actually, don't worry about being too precise. We did a video recently on string runs or magic. It was all creating magic in your compositions, but part of the video was about string runs, and we talked about it a bit on that video where we were saying often with really fast runs and things, you don't want perfection. In fact, the opposite of perfection is often what you want. You want a bit of inconsistency. It's fine if the notes don't line up perfectly on the grid, or one's a bit longer than the other. If it sounds good, it is good. And yeah, if you ever hear a really top orchestra play and they're playing something really complicated, like, I don't know, Stravinsky Rite of Spring or something, which has all kinds of crazy rhythms and tuplet runs and stuff like that, the accuracy is not 100%, and it's actually part of the excitement of the whole music, is that the runs are frenetic and exciting and kind of not all over the place because they're very, very good musicians, but there's a little bit of inconsistency and kind of humanism there that makes them good. So my advice would be eyeball them, and don't make them too precise. Yeah, it's a really tough one, and I used to make them too precise, and it just makes the music sound robotic sometimes. If you listen to recorded runs, or you listen to a piece of music that has runs in it, they're often not very precise. Sometimes they are, but they're often not precise, particularly long extended runs or really, really fast runs. A little bit of inconsistency here and there is fine, and in fact, very often it's what makes the music sound interesting. I mean, that's a prime example there where we're using two different types of run here. It's that blurring that actually makes it sound cool. If I just take that out, it sounds fine, but just sounds a little bit too mechanical in a way, maybe. Part of the emotion of this comes from the sort of superposition of these two different ideas. Very common technique. It's been used a lot. Bear McCreary is using it to great effect here. That it's a sweeping feel. If you don't have both of them overlaid, it'll sound a bit more mechanical. So it's this nice sweeping feel. Okay, should we carry on with this? First thing to do is load up some viola maccatos. Let me just save this, just in case we get any problems, but I think we should be fine. But we will just carry on, and we'll see how far we can get. As I said, it's quite a lot of music to do, so we might not get all the way through, but we're going to try and get deeper into it, and do that in real time, so you guys can see kind of how we put it together. And this just all builds up. It's a really nicely developed piece. It's the same, pretty much the same thing happening kind of over and over again 2 or 3 times, but each time it's a bit different keys, different orchestration. Really good way of just making it all kind of really nice. Okay, so I'm gonna open this up. Yeah, it's gonna say it's missing, but it's not missing. It's just where I haven't loaded my new Dolce samples in. So there we go. Basically, I haven't batch resaved my libraries. This is a really old template and it's all over the shop. So that's cool. Let me bring that here. You'll see it looks dead, but that's fine. We do this. We go to our violas, here we are, and then we go to our maccato. There we go. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a really, really, really well written piece of music. It's got so much emotion. If you play the game, obviously, I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but you sort of understand why it's emotional. It works really well. I think this is a really lovely piece of music. And I hadn't heard it for a long time. When we thought about doing God of War, I started listening to it again, and I was like, yeah, I forgot how good this is. And it was really impactful when we went to the concert. So. Okay, cool. So that's too loud, but let me just see what we've got going on in those violas. So I'm switching from the sus violas here. Yeah, okay, great. And we're going to be up quite high for the violas, but well within their range up here. So we're just going to get these nice big stabs. There we go. And then nice, that's just filling in our middle section there. And then we just tape that off to the start of the next section. Cool, so we've got those in. That was pretty painless. I might bring them down a bit in the mix. So let's have a listen. Yeah, I'll probably just bring them down a bit. And then we go into our next section. Okay. Cool. So I've got this piece that I've taken from here. I've just copied and pasted it, and it's mostly that, but with a little bit more orchestration. Hello, Keegan. Thanks for joining us. So you're going to see kind of what I mean here. Okay, so let's see how we want this to go. So let me just move all this back. That's going to clean everything up. It's all starting at bar 19 here. Cool. I'm just going to clean all this up, and then we can sort of move this over and see how we want it all to lay it. Nice. Okay, so I'm just going to move this over, and we're going to sort of make sure it starts lining up with our sketch. Hey, David's with us. David Donges. So if you didn't see, we did a great interview, well, Q&A, not really an interview, a Q&A with David, all about his incredible work. He's the trailer go-to guy, specifically for custom trailer music, load of incredible placements. And he was very kind to lend us some time, tell us how he got into the industry, and how he keeps just knocking out the hits over and over again. It's a really, really, really cool interview. There were some great questions, and David was really, really kind to sort of answer them and just tell us how he got into that line of work. It's a great line of work if you can get into it. But it's very specific, sort of corner of the industry. David unlocked some of the dark arts of it, and he's just, he's a phenomenal composer. So well worth a listen. It was one of our live streams. We also did a video about writing trailer music where we put some of that into the video too. But the whole live stream, David answered a ton of questions. Really, really, really useful. I learned a lot from it, and I think everyone else did too. So well worth checking out. Okay, cool. Let's just copy this over. That's going to be our little roll. Same here. So where do we want it? There and there, I think. Yeah, it does. That's also a great soundtrack, by the way, Nosferatu. Ninth Gate, Wojciech Kilar. Really, really good soundtrack. He's a great composer. Great for Dracula as well. A lot of other great scores too. Okay, cool. So we want all this to be over a little bit more. So grab this, make sure. Yeah, we're going to want them there. Once we got this lined up, we'll be able to get cracking with the next part. But we're just a little bit out here. Cool, there we go. You know what? We should maybe do Wojciech Kilar on one of the streams. He's not going to be as well known a composer, but great composer. No one's better at the kind of dark gothic stuff. Yeah, he's done some really great scores. Ninth Gate's a really good one. It'd be cool to mock something up from that, or the big opening scene from Dracula. I mean, that's a classic piece of music. Hearing the choir with headphones give me chills. I mean, this choir sounds great. Chorus reminds me of Casa Dum. Yeah, it's got that feel as well. Yep, all from chorus, just the traditional syllables and the energetic syllables. Okay, cool. So we can sort of mute this and just carry this on. Now, for the rest of this, we're going to start bringing in the brass. We don't have brass in the beginning. She's got low brass. In the beginning, we don't have it. From this point forward, we're going to start upping the intensity. We're going to bring the brass in. So what we're going to do is make sure we got our key switches going. This is all sustained, so we should have a key switch on C1. Bring that all the way up here. Just extend that out so we got that going. Just move that there a second. Cool, and here we're going to want to move to a kind of, I think a staccato maybe. So there we go, pop that in. Cool, it's not going to be that intense. Nice. We're going to do, yep, so we're going to do nice, really dark, just what we want. This does have a Dracula Wojciech Kilar vibe to it, doesn't it? Also, quite a lot sort of inspired by Conan the Barbarian, another great score, great composer, Basil Polidouris. Would love to do something about him. These are all composers that like newer, younger audiences may not know, but actually I think you should. If you haven't heard something like RoboCop or Starship Troopers or Conan the Barbarian, well worth checking out. All of the modern stuff sort of has allegiance to that. It sounds very different. It's much more old-fashioned and traditional, but all of these sort of, the language of this music is all in that stuff from, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Let's take a look. Cool. Ollie's asking if I have Octavists installed. I don't know. I think I do. I must do. Yeah, I haven't deleted anything. Octavist was a Flourish title that we did a while ago. Are you thinking of putting Octavist in? Okay, cool. That's our first part done. So we've got that. Now at this point we need to put the chorus female choir in. I think we'll use the traditional syllables. I will see if I can load Octavix up and maybe we'll try and sneak it in there somewhere. Okay. Okay, let's take a look. Just doing something like that. Let's make sure we blend them in. Where are these roughly? Yeah, so they can be a bit quieter. Nice. Okay. Cool. Just grab these, make sure these are a little bit more staccato so they're not too... Great. Now, there is something going on here that I'm going to try. I've already loaded it up. There's a kind of dulcimer or some kind of guitar going on in this section that I'm going to try and get. Guitar is more of a kind of textural guitar. Might not be the best option for this, but I think we can make it work. It's still a very, very powerful guitar. So we have, let me just see, I've made a note of sort of what's happening. Let's see if it works. It's quiet in the mix, so it'll be interesting, but it adds a lot of rhythm. And this is an example of how a small additional element can... Yeah, something like that, I think. But what I'm thinking is maybe we do this instead. Something like this. Oh. Something like that, and I'm going to show you what I'm thinking of doing here. Using, let me just make sure, is that on the grid here? I don't know that it is. Let me just make sure I put this in the right place. Yeah, it should all be on bar 19, so let's make sure that we're dead on. See, we're a bit off there, and that's what's causing the issue. So we want... So we don't want those. Okay, I'm going to show what I'm doing. This sounds weird, but I think it's going to work. Just copy all them in. We're going to get a delay pedal on this. And I think that's going to make it sound more rhythmic than programming in the rhythm. Really simple. It's going to be something like this. Let's just get it in. Have a listen. So maybe that there, 16th. That sounds a little bit more rhythmic to me, I think. Make it quieter. We don't want so much feedback. Nice. And then grab and do... There we go. Let's just make sure we got the right rhythm. We can always change that right now. Pop that in at the end. We'll just make sure we got that nice and well. Cool. So we will carry on. We have these trombones going on. And then we'll look at getting the octavists in at some point too. So all this is going to be... Yeah, the dulcimer adds a lot. I think it's gonna be really cool. It's in there in the original, but it's like an example of quite a small instrument, but adding a ton of kind of character and rhythm. Sometimes those small things, little clicks and clacks or guitar strums and things can sound huge in the mix. You know, they can really make something sound big. Okay, so this going on. Oh, there we go. Again, quiet in the mix. We don't want... You know what? I might do these... Don't know if this happens. Yeah, nice. So just these alternating... Doesn't happen on the first one. Yeah, nice. So we keep this going. Now to add more tension, it's actually going to be there. Match that part. And then we've got one more repeat of that. So we'll put that in a minute. That's going to be easy to do. So if I just take that. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Copy and paste. Everything's quantized, so it should be easy enough to copy and paste it. But we don't want to not have the original. So there it is. And same thing with these here. Copy, paste. So... Okay, and then we've got, yeah, that's just those things there. Cool. And what we're going to do is add a little bit of kind of tension here. I don't think this is in the original soundtrack, but they often do it in the live versions of this. We're going to use a kind of spiccato here somewhere. So I'm thinking maybe like a violin 2 spiccato. It could be any really. It's just one of the upper strings, so it could be violas as well. I'm trying to make Iron Man Captain America mix, but I can't get it right. It's very difficult. It's got a really, I mean, they're so well mixed. They're recorded in incredible spaces, like, you know, it could be Sony or Abbey Road or somewhere like that. So it's really hard to get those sounds as perfect. But yeah, it's tough. Listen to this when I'm working. My boss does the same thing. He makes themes like this. That's cool. Yeah, it's a great theme, and it's very inspirational. So, okay, you're going to see what we're going to do here. Seems a bit weird, but that little idea. Again, a small thing here is going to add a lot of rhythm and intensity. Okay. And then when we've got our maintenance ultimate, which I'll add in at the end once we've got everything else in there. Nice. So I think we have everything working quite nicely there. What we need to do is make sure we keep those female vocals going. So there we go. Cut them there as well. So they'll be going as well. So that whole section there sounds pretty good, and we've upped the intensity. In the beginning it sounds like this. So a bit more ominous and kind of plodding. The second time around, just a little bit more energy. Here, how everything's just beefed up a bit. Have a good day, Keegan. Thanks for joining us. Okay, cool. So let's start getting this in. So this is a big sweeping idea on the strings, which we're going to have on. Let's get them in Dolce first, and then we can always copy them over where we want them elsewhere. So make sure everything is linked up, because this is legato, so we need a little overlap between everything. We're going to need to do this here. Make sure we got that. We don't want it too low. Beautiful. And again, see how these are not in line. And when they were piano notes, listen to them. They do not sound good. Sounds odd, right? But when you've got something like legato playing the same thing, suddenly the time is exactly the same, but we've got these overlapped. And the fact that it's being played by this kind of legato, which has a slight slur to it, sounds really good. Even if it's slightly out of, you know, not quite perfect, it doesn't matter, because that's exactly what it would be like with real musicians too. Ramin says, I've stumbled on the channel yesterday. I just want to say how much this inspires me to get back into writing music. Thank you very much, Ramin. And yes, definitely get back into it. We need more composers, you know, in this day and age. We definitely need more people just making cool stuff. So really, really glad that you're finding it inspiring. And yeah, if you're not on our Discord, we got the link in the description below. Join. We got a self-promo channel. Post anything you want. You can get feedback. You can get help. Or you can just say, here's something I've done. And we will listen. And we love hearing what people are doing. Now, what I will usually do here is just copy that over into our array of violins as well. We'll see if they sound good together. So they sound like this. Nice. Okay. So that's in our horns here. So let's get that in. Okay, that's going to be up here a little bit more. Nice, that will work. Let's go and grab these. So this is our bass. So these are going to be in our bass instruments. So let's have a look what we want them in. Maybe here. I'll just leave little gaps here just to give a little bit more emphasis. I think that will sound good. We may move them to legato if we want, but I think for now that sounds fine. Same thing here. I'll move these an octave up like that. Oh, don't want to do that. I want to do that instead. Just move them an octave up. So those two together is just a really nice, big, thick bass sound in octaves. I love that last line where violin line where it starts running up slower to faster notes. Yeah, it's great. It's really, really well written piece of music this is, and that's a great technique. Just very romantic writing, right out of like a Rachmaninoff or, you know, something like that. But, you know, those kind of classic techniques just sound really cool. And this is a really great piece of music for that. It sort of combines almost those kind of tragic, classic, you know, romantic techniques of like the 1800s and the early 1900s with obviously modern day music as well, where it's a lot more kind of guttural and cinematic and sort of primal, I guess. Cool, that's sounding pretty good. So we've got that on our basses. We're also going to want them here on our low brass. We're going to want to change the key switch back, because we're currently on staccato, which is great, but we need to go back to probably sustains for this, so that's going to be that one there. Let's have a listen. Yeah, nice, that's cool. I think that's fine like that. Yeah, sounds good. Cool. Okay, so let's just get rid of those smokes. Don't need them. Cool, that's sounding pretty good. We'll leave that for now. We'll come back to it because it definitely needs work, but we'll just get more in. So let's get all of these in the violins. So these are going to be split over our first and second violins. I use Mikado, I think, but maybe Dolce, maybe legato, Mikado. We'll see. So let's have a look. When we get everything in, we'll see whether it works. Okay. Okay, cool. Let me just make sure I've got the sample start right for that there. No. Should be 80 milliseconds. 180, that's why it's out of place. Shouldn't they work? Nice. Okay. So we have this on our male vocals. And this is a big part of the piece here. We got these beautiful male vocals singing. Let's try it all on the energetic syllables, see how we feel about this. Nice, that's sounding pretty good to me. Let's maybe just bring them up a tiny bit. Okay, let's have a listen. Cool, that's sort of sounding good, I think. Let's get our bass notes in here. So these are going to be, let's just do all these bass notes here on our Maccatos here. Maybe up here. Oh, do you want to do that again? No, I don't want to do that either. I want to take them and do that. Okay. Okay. Nice. Yeah, paste them in there. So I think we're going to want them actually down there. In fact, no, we're probably just going to not want them at all. Okay, this is starting to come together, I think. Orchestra shot some beautiful runs on the Berlin Strawberries. When I heard somewhat simple technique from Ray and Dolce, I was sold. Yeah, I mean, you can sometimes do them really nicely with, you know, your own libraries, and then you can get a bit more kind of customization in, you know, sometimes pre-recorded runs can really work, but sometimes they don't have the flexibility that you need. So yeah, sometimes it's good to just put them in yourself. Okay, cool. Let's just take a look. The name is Toby said, do the vocals need more breathing room after the third notes, leaving a quarter note room? They way well do, yes. Let's have a little look. So you mean after this one here, where we maybe get a little bit more back? Or do you mean here? And then... What bar are you thinking of here, Toby? Is it this here, 23? Or later on when we get to bar 25? Maybe this one here, is it? I think you're right. So it ends on 26-1. This here is a bit long, or need more breathing room? Like that, maybe? Let's take a look here and see what we got going on with our brass. We're going to want to open that up, have a look where we are. Oh, no, we've pasted the wrong thing there. Ignore that entirely. We're going to want to put the bass in. Yeah, so it ends right at the start of 26. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Let's do it. I think there is a little overlap in the thing, but I know what you mean. Let's keep it like that for now. Good shout, Toby. Okay, so we are coming up here. We're taking this, and we're just copying this into our low brass. Oh. Glue all that together. Maybe, yeah. Maybe we'll go back and do some sort of finessing if we get to the end of this. certainly would want breaks here because no one's going to be playing that many notes with 0 gaps. We also want a little bit of nice. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so we have this line here in the horns, I think. Or it could be actually, I think it's actually in the trumpets. So here we go. So we need to get our Jaeger trumpets out. There they are. Haven't been used yet, but there we go. Sounds good. Not too loud here. Maybe something like that. I'll just mix them to taste. Okay. And then we have, I think all of this line here is all in our French horns. So let's pop that in there. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of programming there and swell sort of back up there. And that's like a little counter line that's going on with the trumpets, which is really nice. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed you there, Toby. Yes, all is going well, thank you. And I hope all is going well for you as well. Louder here. So this is some nice brass interplay. We'll look at this in a second. Just going to make sure that we get up this range. I think we have it here. Yeah, nice. And are we in? No, we are not in. What's happening here is we're not in legato mode. So that's easy fix with a key switch. Let me just make sure, glue all this together so we can do our key switches easily then. So up to there is fine, but when we get to this little section here, we're definitely going to want all of this to be legato. So there we go. This will now sound much better. Nice, that sounds really good to me. So it now sounds in context like this. Cool, that's starting to come together. One thing I am thinking is I think we need to combine the legato violins with the marcato here, because I think it's sounding a bit too kind of forced here at this point. So let me show you what I mean. Take the top line here. And I think we want these to be like this. And we'll sort of mix them in with so what we'll do is we'll start here quite loud, then we'll come down like this. That sounds good to me. And we'll also just do, I'm just going to dip these down in volume as well. So the legatos will take over here. But we'll still get a bit of the attack of the marcatos. There we go, nice. So we're getting a little bit of the attack It's almost like someone is rebowing in a way. Yeah, that's a bit better phrasing with those violins because they're not so bum bum. I think exactly like you've said there. It's yeah, it's not as sort of stunted, if you like, and they don't need to breathe with violins, obviously, so they can play much more flowing lines, which is nice. It's a good contrast with what's going on with the vocals. I think that's better. Okay, we're getting some with that, I think. Okay, let's fix the rest of these up. So then we've got our violins going. And these are actually in octaves. They should probably be on violins 1 and 2. But for time, we're just going to keep it like this. It's fine. As long as it's sort of sounding decent, that's okay. If I was really thinking about orchestration here, we probably do a little bit more kind of manicuring here so it didn't look so odd. But, you know, if it's sounding good, it is good. Okay, there we go. Nice, okay. We'll do a little bit of shaping here. So we get the top of those phrases. Like that, something like that. Of course, we have to take what we've got going on here out of our piano sketches because the piano is playing over the top, which is making it sound a bit weirder than it actually is. So this is what it sounds like. And I think we need louder here, as in more intensity in the singing. Nice, yeah. And we will fix up the phrasing because you're absolutely right. That's going to be... the best theme for chorus, yes. It's a very good one for chorus. So we've definitely got some fixing up to do in this area, but we'll sort of gloss over everything when we got it all in. Okay, nice. So let's see what we are missing. So it's the rest of this phrase here all carries on. The horn doesn't just cut out like that. It carries on with this nice phrase here, which sounds like this. And we'll make sure we've got our overlaps here for some of these. Which need a little gap there for some phrasing. So we hit that final note there, which is nice. And we'll just do a little dip down there, like a phrasing thing. Yeah, nice. We don't want to go down too fast. Just a bit more like that, I think. Of course, we need our vocals here. So this is all vocal based here. These are sort of the drivers of this section. Yeah, we're getting those nice vocals there. And like we said, maybe we'll reinforce them with octavists if we get around to it. Okay, so we're starting to get somewhere with this. So let's have a little listen to what we've got so far and we'll carry on. just get some dynamics into this. We really need to ramp that up there. We can bring it back down for around there. A little bit longer, just a tiny bit. Percussion here will help a lot, because without the percussion we don't really have any kind of punctuation as to what's happening. We'll ramp that up there. A little bit more like that. Nice, okay. And then we just sort of have a little taper off there. We do have timpani. We haven't put it in at this stage yet. We do have it in the beginning. You can see it's playing along here. But we need it in this. We need all the percussion in the second half that we don't have yet. But we will put it in. That's a very good shout. Okay, so we have there we go. Yeah, I think we're going to save them for the octave. So they're going to be, let's just copy that and then delete this and then put this on our cello. So these are our big bass notes here, and we'll keep them in octaves. Doesn't make any sense to stop using octaves, so we do that. And then we carry on this. There we go. We want that. And then we have nice. We might not even need that in the strings. I think maybe just and let's just have a quick look at what. Yep, so and we need to taper that off more. It's coming, everything's sort of coming. Nice, something like that. That's any good. Keep them going on. Like this. You could assign. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just checking in your conversation, guys. It's looking very interesting. Gonna have to read it back. Yeah, and they need to be doubles. So it actually sings 2 syllables there, like that. Cool. You can actually copy those there. These are obviously so we want them there. Okay, that's all good. So we come down here, and these are going to be shorter. We don't want these to be much more staccato. sounding good. And then we got... Okay, we're sort of getting towards the end of the basic sketch of this now. Obviously we've got a lot of polishing to do, but sort of getting the idea of what it's going to be like. So we're going to want this. I'm going to take this and copy that down there. Take all this octave stuff away and make sure this is all overlapping so we get the legato like this. Nice, really lovely writing here. Same thing here. Copy that down. Then we're just going to take the top line. Cool. We're actually going to take this all here. Copy these second violins an octave lower. So that can't be an octave lower, but that all can be. That's too low to be an octave lower. So that would always certainly be unison, but the rest of it can be an octave lower. It's going to be much thicker. Okay, cool. You'll carry on. If it's a low, save a second. So yeah, we're getting some with this, and then we'll just spend maybe the last half hour just tidying it up. It's not going to be perfect, but we can get it into a nice place, I think. Okay, let's take all of these from here, 33 onwards, and we're just going to get our bass in. So we'll get it in our marcato here from 33. Yep, so that's going to be all up there, I think. Tidy all this up as we go. That's going to be the same thing, but an octave lower. And I think we're going to get rid of all of that and just double that line there. So I think we're going to want all of this a couple of octaves lower to there. Nice. Okay. And that's the big note we're going to end on. It's not really a resolution, but it goes into a different section there that we wouldn't have time to do today, but maybe we'll do it at some other point. But we'll keep on going with what we have. So all of this stuff here is going to be the male voices. So we should just be able to copy and paste this pretty much as is and then do a little bit of work. So yeah, we should be able to put this in here, glue that together. So and we also have some female voices at this point, which has had a lot of extra kind of... So here, I think that that's pretty much this top line here. Yeah. We'll sort of arrange as we go here, so that won't be perfect, but that will do. We want those female vocals to not be as dominant as the male, because this is really like a male voice choir. You know, it's very much male oriented because of the nature of the game, I guess. And then, you know, the female choir is just there to add some sort of harmonic reinforcement and some sort of sonic reinforcement, but without really noticing it really, really obviously. So we just want them buried a little bit. Okay, nice. Then we have this stuff going on. We're going to have to fix the rest of the brass up, but we've got this really beautiful kind of slightly clashing harmony in the horns here. So let me show you what I mean. We're probably going to have to go back to sustains, because I think we're still in, yes, there we go. All of that section there is legato, so we just use our key switch to go back to sustain, and we got these really lovely, let me just play them in isolation, kind of clashing chords that sound a bit weird by themselves but work. So okay, so make sure I didn't move all them. Okay, so that's all gonna have to be a bit louder, I think. So nice. And again, we're going to take out the piano because that's making things sound weirder than it would do. So this whole section is starting to come together. A lot of work still, but we've got time, I think. Sounds a bit like this. Nice, and that's sort of where we end it for today, but we're obviously going to carry on and build the rest of this out. It's not sounding too bad. So let me just see what we've got to do with our brass and stuff here. One thing we do have to do is adding these trombones. Let me just see what chords we've got going on. So this is a major. So B flat major, C major to D minor. Very lovely chord sequence. Something like that, I think. We'll... There we go. That's going to add a lot of sort of harmony here. Yeah, something like that. Some breaks. I actually don't know. I think it's a passing chord. So it's an interesting thing here. It's like the bass moves up B flat, C to D, but the chord stays B flat, D. So it's like a kind of what we call a passing chord, basically, where it's like you have the bass passing, the chord stays the same. Really nice. So it's basically, I think, a B flat over a C. Yeah, nice. That stays lower. Beautiful. Just really nice range for the trombones here. Just in this really nice proud section that they've got where they can sound really brassy. So. And then a little swell up to that. What is that chord? Nice E flat. Yeah, it's a really great movement here. So just not quite that loud. And then to a G flat. Sorry, G minor. Get a little bit of a breathing space there, just a tiny bit. And then we definitely want to hit the rhythms there. So. And we'll also up the dynamics slightly there, because that's like a big section with the drums and everything. We've got to put the drums in, they'll add a lot too. But not that much. We don't need... That's another thing as well, you know, it can be tempting to always use like the top modulation level and get all the massive dynamics. With music like this, even though it sounds huge, very often it sounds the most realistic and best in those kind of middle dynamics. So yeah, nice. I think that will work. So, and then we just bring that up here. Yeah, and that will do us, I think. Again, see, that's probably too much, right? It's finding this balance, because we want it to rise up, but we don't want it to sort of just sound like people playing too loud. Everything here is sort of more in this forte. Yeah, nice. Okay, same thing here, I think. Maybe not even. Okay. So these notes here we can put back to marcato. Makes sense to have them marcato. So if I actually cut them from there, bring the marcato back up for this section here. So it's almost like we're blending these together. And again, phrasing here, we want breaks. Bum, bum. We need like a space. Because listen, if you don't have any gaps, just saying like blah, blah, it's to really make this cut through little gap. Just sounds so much more huge. Okay, something we're missing here, which isn't the end of the world, but we should probably put in, is there's going to be... We should really have our violas, which I think are just going to be padding out like this. Like this, yeah. To illustrate the importance of these middle voices. Couple of gaps there. It's less important to get these perfectly phrased because, you know, we sort of feel them more than we hear them, but it's going to be really nice on this chord here. Nice. See how much that adds, even though it's not a really, really loud sound. Without, it sounds like this. Just as something hollow there. You know, let's just have some fun and put a bit of a swell there. Just bring that out at that point. Not too much, but, you know, just a little bit. Nice. Okay. And then same thing here. Really important, I think. Beautiful to that B flat. Really beautiful harmony there. Maybe we'll go there instead. Yeah. This is one of those pieces, like one of those, a real big hallmark of like, this happened all the time in Conan the Barbarian, happens in lots of different things as well. Lord of the Rings, you hear it all the time. In traditional, like classical music, the theory goes you don't want to have too many parallel fifths and too much fifth movement because it sounds very kind of boxy and blocky, and you want a lot more thirds and movement between things, you know. In stuff that's sort of medieval inspired or mythical inspired or fantasy inspired, I don't know what it is, but there's something about movements in fourths and fifths that is exactly the sound that you want. It just sounds bold and kind of courageous and heroic and mythical. So that's a prime example there. Probably in classical music, you'd want in a B flat more emphasis on that third. So that would be the right movement. But listen how this sounds weak in this context. It's too bright. It's drawing attention to the wrong thing. Keeping things in fourths instead, or fifths, just sounds so much more kind of bold. So, you know, that's a good technique actually. If you're ever thinking about, you know, if you're writing music for like fantasy, medieval, epic, you know, that kind of thing, you want to go against the rules a bit more and make more of those kind of fifths. And interestingly, there's a parallel here. If any of you play guitar or play in bands, you'll know that almost certainly rock and metal and stuff, everything's based on those power chords, those fifths. And it's that same principle here. It's like power chords. It's this really solid connection between the first and the fifth, or if you're in fourths where you have the fifth underneath the root, if you like. Just sounds so epic and sort of medieval and heroic, and yeah, used all the time. And keep it in fifths. Don't think we really need anything else. Maybe a third here, because it's sort of a... Although we're getting a bit low here, but I think it's fine. These are inner voices. Doesn't matter if it's not perfect. The third works there because it's like a lift moment, so you want to hear a little bit more of that major. Nice. Okay. And then same thing here. And again, that phrasing, we don't want these to be as... Back to that fifth, well, fourth, but we've got the root note B flat here. And then the fifth is a fourth lower, if that makes sense. So instead of going up here, so it's a first and a fifth, we're going down to this fourth here. Yeah, very Basil Polydorus. This is all from Conan and stuff like that. I agree. It's definitely lifted. You know, he's had such an influence. I think a lot of Lord of the Rings has certainly paid tribute to that as well. And I'm sure, you know, he's got his influences from Korngold and, you know, Karl Orff and those kind of composers of the classical tradition. But yeah, I mean, he really established it as a cinematic thing. Cool. Okay, so we were just listening to the strings then, but let's listen to all that with the violas in there. And now everything's in, those horns need to leap out a little bit more. And it's going to be... Nice, just a little lead in there so it doesn't come in out of nowhere.
Nice, just a little lead in there so it doesn't come in out of nowhere.
Nice, just a little lead in there so it doesn't come in out of nowhere. Nice, just a little lead in there so it doesn't come in out of nowhere. could probably do some key switch stuff here. We'll see. We don't want to get it too sticking out, but I think here we could have a bum bum bum, so maybe a staccato. We don't want it to be too much though, but I think cool. So this is an isolation. Yeah, I think that works. And of course we'll go back then to the sustain and we'll bring it down a little bit. It's a bit too intense, but nice. I think in context that will just sound, the phrasing will sound more realistic than just keeping everything sustained. See, it's a lot better. And we're just sort of ending this. So let's have a listen to the whole thing, get a feel for where we think we're at. There's a couple of sections we probably need to work on, and then just add the percussion and just smooth some stuff over. We won't get all the way through, but it'll sound decent, I think. Okay. Okay, you have a momentary change here that we haven't accounted for. It's these key switches. That's why it sounds weird. Go back a little bit. Okay, nice. That's just while we're here. Let's sort of fix this up. This, let me just glue all this together so we can see where our modulation is. So there it is. This is the issue. This is too low. I mean, this is the big section, right? We've already had all this stuff. Why would we be down here? So we start here maybe. But by the time we get to here, we really want that to be there. So... same thing here. Make sure we got all these going on. Yep, sounding pretty good. Hello, Adrian. And yes, Zelos, maybe we don't have any woodwinds, and there are actually woodwinds in the piece. They play a much reduced roll, but we could maybe add some in. Maybe we got time, so we'll put some in. They're going to sound great in the low woodwinds, but I think you're right. As we get to sort of the higher stuff, maybe we'll emphasize some of the runs with some woodwinds too. They are in the original, but they are the quietest element. You know, like a lot of modern music, they're sort of mixed down. They're just helping to support the other instruments. So we should put some in, but we should get the percussion. There's actually something we're missing here. Let me show you. It's not a mark tree. I'm going to show you what it is. It's atonal percussion. In particular, it's wood. Oh, we'll get some woodwinds in soon, but it's these. We'll get the atonal percussion patch from Nucleus, and there's going to be cymbal rolls. That's not them. Got to find where they are. Where are they? Cymbal. It's a sustained roll. That one then. There's a cymbal roll going through this section. Listen to what this adds, and this is a really subtle but important technique in orchestral music. John Williams does this a lot. Cymbal rolls to just add some texture and movement. Let me just change the name of this and we'll play this in live. And it's going to add a lot. In fact, we'll call it cymbal roll because we're going to use this as a cymbal roll. Keep everything separate. So have a listen to this. Now we're going to sort of need to bake all this in. It's going to be a bit out of place, but this will sound cool, I think. So we'll just end it with those piatti come in, so we make a separation. We'll just do some mixing, because this cymbal sounds a little bit sort of close, great for certain things, but you can hear there's all this stuff going on here that we don't need. We're looking for more of this. So in fact, we'll maybe even go more aggressive and just really get rid of all that. That should sound cool. We'll put some reverb on it, just so it doesn't sound so sort of close, and let's have a little listen to that. And it's going to be quiet. And we obviously don't want too much of a spike there. Where it just played it not the best, so there we go. That all looks good, I think. Bring this down a tiny bit just so we don't get... Is woodwind usually complemented with the strings? In modern day composing, definitely, yes. Usually the woodwinds are doing either something the brass is doing or something the strings are doing. It's a really good question. In sort of John Williams stuff, that kind of thing, or Jerry Goldsmith, the woodwinds have a lot more of an independent role usually. They do often double instruments, but they would often do their own thing as well, whether that's patterns, you know, like rhythmic patterns to support the strings, or... it could be a melody while the strings or the brass are doing something else. Woodwinds are the quietest section, kind of, maybe in comparison with the strings, maybe not quite, but woodwinds won't cut through brass. So usually woodwinds will support a bit more because they don't cut through as much by themselves. But composers like John Williams will definitely use woodwinds as their own section, doing their own independent thing. Sometimes solo as a section, sometimes in combination with the strings or the brass, but they might be doing something different to those. In music like this, everything's so loud, you won't get the woodwinds cutting through too much, but they will support a little bit. And like I think Nosferatu said, we can definitely use the woodwinds to add some texture. So this is a really interesting point now. Listen to this section now. I'm going to take the cymbals in and out, and you're going to see how this really subtle cymbal roll underneath ties everything together. It's almost like a white noise sheen that makes everything sound as one. See, it's subtle, but when you take it out, it feels like something drops out of the music. So here we go. Or just get a cymbal roll back into this next part, because that's how it would happen. So. something like that, but not quite as loud as that. But you get the idea. So I'm not all the way to the top, but almost all the way. There we go. Nice. I mean, without that cymbal roll, it feels like the sections don't join together, so this is the importance of transitions. Sounds a bit weird, like something cuts out, but with the cymbal roll, everything smooths over. Sounds great now. Okay, so now we need to start putting some percussion in. Okay, cool. In fact, we actually need to add trombone here as well, because it wouldn't just have no trombone until this end part here. Let's get that in. Nice, so we've got this lovely little D flat to F minor. Of course, we're going to want here, back to the sustains, so bring that in here, something like that. Make sure we got those overlapped. Okay, cool. Nice, just... And then just double that over. That goes down to make it F minor. Tiny gap so we don't get... There we go. I'll just do a little ride here. Very subtle with the trombones because they're so powerful, but that just glue the section together. Nice. Let's just make sure. Actually, I'm gonna go up. It's a bit low there, I think. That's gonna work better, I think. Nice, we can just have this follow the melody here. So the melody goes to so have a listen. We've just added this little melodic figure. We're gonna do the same thing here. Nice, and that'll just take us. That should sound really nice, I think now. Nice, and then we get to that A. We got a key change here to this A minor. Really nice key change to sort of from that. So we'll be here, which is D flat to C minor, to F minor, sorry. And from F minor, chromatic mediate move to that, very cinematic, to the A minor. Nice, and now this is sounding like a cohesive piece because it was missing a little bit of the middle. We put it in a little bit with the violas, but now it makes sense. Okay, nice. And then we can dip that down a bit here. Have a moment break there. Back in again. We've got... So... Nice. Again, see how all this like harmony is pretty gentle in the background. Trombones in this kind of dynamic range, just supporting, just sound great. Because this is the thing, right? Trombones, everybody thinks they're always like massive, big, blatty, brass. You can hear them. You know, very often they're playing these gentle kind of chords, but they just add so much character and kind of fill out everything. Might help if I actually move though. We'll just do the same thing again here. I'm going to bring this down because it doesn't need to sort of really be heard. Just and then same thing here. And then see, that leads us nicely to this chord here. We're going to do a little stab here, not too much, but just a bit of a boom, and then rise up into that chord. I think that's so nice. So yeah, that's nice. And the final thing we're going to do is these trumpets. Because this is the big end section, you wouldn't have trumpets come in. And in the final piece, there is trumpets at this point too. So up until this point, we just had the trumpets play a little moment here. Let's make sure we get our key switch in. Okay. Move that to get our key switch in. And then we'll just do something nice with the trumpets here. They're going to be in the background. They're not going to be the focus, but the high energy of the trumpets here will fill the brass aids and make it sound huge at this point. And then, yes, I agree, Xanos. We'll get some piatti. We'll get some good stuff going with the percussion. Then we'll be nearly there. We've got sort of 15, 20 minutes left. We got... That's going to sound lovely, I think. And then we got this big one. Nice, yeah. We don't want to go too crazy. Again, phrasing here. That's where we end. Now what we'll do, that's all sounding pretty good to me. Might need to change the volume a little bit, but I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to get a sustain patch, and we're going to do chords in the trumpets. Like imagine like if you had 3 trumpets in an orchestra, which is very common. One might be playing that top line, the other 2 might be playing something different to sort of fill out the harmony. Because if we look at this, see, here's the trumpets. We've got some sort of gaps here, nothing massive, but some stuff that we could add some extra trumpets in just to make everything sound nice and rich here. So that's what we're going to do just by making that a sustain. And then we're going to have a look. Okay. All pretty quiet stuff, but okay. See how now everything is filled out nicely. There's no sort of gaps or weaknesses here. Yep. Nice, and that now sounds like you can see there's no gaps. Everything's sort of filled in. We got a little bit of a gap here, but that's fine because it's a melody. But we've got a nice big full brass section here, and it sounds all together like this. See how they're adding? Then we need the final chord of the trombones. Nice, so that's pretty much all our melodic stuff. We'll get the percussion in. If we have time, we'll do some woodwind. If we don't, it's not the end of the world, but we'll see what we can do. Same thing here, we'll get a little nice little cymbal roll here. Let's just move back a little bit. Obviously that's too much, but you get the idea. I'm going to sort of start there and come up to about there, I think. Maybe not even quite that much. That just adds a nice little moment there. And we're going to get some tam-tams in. So let's have a little listen to them. Maybe we'll do 2. And then a sort of bigger one there. Nothing too crazy, but that's a big moment there. High Radical, yeah, good place. We're sort of coming to the end, but it's all coming together. And same there, got a cymbal roll there. Gonna play this in, I think. Nice, so now we're just going to want to get these Grand Casa hits and sort of bits and pieces going. So. Big hits here, but not too loud. Same thing here. Not that. There we go. Okay, nice little emphasis there. Not that loud, of course. Hold on, I may be wrong, but check the harmony in the trombones at bar 26 okay, along with the rest of the horns and strings. I have feeling something is wrong. Let's have a little look in a second. Could be true. Oh, do that there. Oh, they're all wrong as well. 1 second. There we go. Better. So let's have a look. Bar 26. Is this? Oh, there is actually a clash. Now I know what you mean. There's a clash in the actual thing. So what you're hearing, I think, is this. So we have a choice. That does happen. We should put it in the trombones as well. Very well spotted. If we don't do that, it should be there. But do we like the clash? We could just keep it all on the A and the E. Okay, let's keep going a second while we're moving on. But it was very well spotted there, Xenos, because you're right. We weren't doing it in the we're doing it in the violas, but we weren't doing it in the trombones, which is too much of a clash. It was sounding too weird. But now they fixed, and they still say they have that nice sort of discordant moment, but it's a lot more even. Very well spotted. I didn't hear that. So what we're going to do now is just basically have the timpani playing most, if not all, of these bass notes. Probably not all of them, because that'll be a bit too... And then we'll just fix it up to make sure it sort of sounds decent. Be too low. It's all going to be up there. Everything's going to be played more... these. These are too high. That's the timpani from Nucleus that you can hear there. It's just got a nice tonal percussive quality to it. Okay, let's keep going. They're going to be quieter, they're a bit too plodding. Yeah, we really need that to be coming up in that dynamic range sooner. Yeah, otherwise it sounds a bit weak. Okay, let's have a listen. So I think we got the whole thing. We might do one or two more tiny things, but let's just see what we've got, and let's make sure we add those. There we go. Okay. Just get in here. Okay, let's make sure we got any kind of... We don't need any effects of any kind, so we don't have anything there. We don't need any fragments or anything. Cool. I think that will work. Let's have a listen to the whole thing, and then we can do one or two more tweaks, we will. I don't know if we're going to get around to woodwind, unfortunately. Maybe not the octavits either, but maybe we'll finish this up and do it another day or something. Nice, not too bad. There's definitely a little bit more. Maybe we'll do another 5 minutes and just try and do one or two more things. But I think it's sounding pretty good, considering there's a little bit of work I do on the strings. I think that we have too much similarity between the first and second violins. Maybe we'll just have a look at that now. Add some of the discordant stuff that's in the horns. So here, this might work. Just a subtle thing, but it really just sort of adds. More tension in these strings, the interplay between them is going to work here, I think. Nice, so we can really ramp up that section there. Radical asks about trying to incorporate in lyrics. Well, we haven't. Maybe we could do something at some point like that. Maybe we could get some lyrics in here. If anybody's got any ideas for lyrics that are not the original God of War lyrics, something new in English or another language, put them in our Discord. Maybe we can get a choir to sing them or something. maybe the final thing we'll do, I don't even know if this happens in the original, but let's just do it ourselves. Let's get a run up to that final thing. Da, 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 da. That kind of a thing. But faster than that. Let's do it double time. So something more like this. Yeah, something like that kind of works, I think. Don't want it to be too prominent. Cool. Yeah, that kind of works. And we'll just make sure we get all of this legato stuff on the array patch as well, because we've sort of been doubling those. They just have a sweeter sound together. Something we need to do here. So again, this is where we can get just a little bit of detail here just on the phrasing. Have a listen. See how this holds and the others play these two sort of quarter notes here. That is not very good writing on my part, not Bear McCreary, my part. This will sound much more tight. See how that just sounds tighter now? We can really even build it up there. Maybe even go there. Nice, yeah. And same there, just maybe build that up there. Cool, yeah, just slightly tighter on the writing there, I think. Okay, I think we'll call it a day for there. I know we didn't get around to everyone's suggestions, which is a shame, but maybe we'll pick this up in another stream or something, or maybe we'll do it in a YouTube video. But some great suggestions on the woodwinds, and if we could get lyrics or something, that would be cool too. Maybe we can have a play around with the syllables and do something more. I think we'll have a listen to the beginning one last time as a final sort of where we are. And yeah, I'm going to mute my mic so you don't have to hear me breathing and whatever. We'll just listen to the music and then we'll sort of wrap up. You guys can't hear me. There we go. That's better. Maybe we could polish it up, I was saying, and do the rest of it at some point, because it's a really good theme and it would be great to do the rest of it. There's plenty more to learn in this, I think. So maybe we'll do that at some stage, a YouTube video or another stream or something. Yeah, okay, let's head back to just chatting and we shall finish up for the day. And yeah, we shall say goodbye. Cool. That was really good fun. I really think that's a great theme. And I will make it available, the MIDI, on our Discord, and I'll make the previous streams because a couple of people have asked me. Most of them are up now, but there's a few that are still missing, so I will make all of them available, including this one as well. And yeah, if you guys are up for it, maybe we'll do a bit more on this one at some point, because I think it's a really beautiful theme and there's a lot to learn, and I think it sounds really good with the Audio Imperia instruments as well. So with a bit of mixing and finessing, I think it would be really cool. Yeah, thanks again. This was really good fun. Always enjoy this, and yeah, this is, you know, a really great soundtrack, so it's really cool to dig into it. I've never mocked this up before, so it was a really good opportunity to dig into it and see how it's all put together. And yeah, it doesn't disappoint. It's a really good theme, really well put together. So yeah, next week we're not here. I think we've already said that a few times, but just in case you weren't with us and you wonder why we're not here next week, we're busy doing lots of fun, exciting things that will eventually become clear, but I'm going to be tied up, well, I think we're all going to be tied up doing lots of different stuff that we need to do, and we're just going to take a break from the stream for 1 week, but we'll be back the following Tuesday. I'm not sure what we'll be doing, but it'll be something cool, hopefully, and we very much hope to see you there. In the meantime, do join our Discord, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not. We will be continuing to post videos on the YouTube channel over the next few weeks in this gap between the streams. So, you know, do keep an eye out to see what's going on. We've been doing these really fun composer showdowns recently. Some of you might have seen them, where we did like Hans Zimmer and John Williams. We did Brian Tyler and Ludwig Göransson. I'm sure we'll get around to doing another one at some point pretty soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And we've been doing some hints and tip videos as well, with you know, writing, using synths to write things like trailer music and epic music. That's our most recent one. We did another one recently on using, you know, creating magic using virtual instruments, which is good fun as well. So do check them out. There's lots of videos on the YouTube channel for you guys to dig into. I have no idea why, but this song gave me an idea of what we could write on our next stream. I know Display's already been on, but what you say about Godzilla theme? Yes, that's a very cool idea, Xenos. It's a really good theme. We should do it. We should definitely do it. And as I say, if you're not on our Discord, join up. We've got a suggestions channel. Put anything you want in there. We are listening. We've done a few of those suggestions, and I'm sure over time we'll get around to doing more as well. So it's a really good idea to put any ideas that you've got in there for streams, for videos, for things in general. Any cool ideas you've got, put them in. We'd love to hear them. And yeah, we should definitely do the Godzilla theme, because you're right. It's a really interesting one, right? It's like Alexandre Desplat, Godzilla, not an immediate obvious sort of choice, but he knocks it out of the park as always, with a very different thing than a lot of other composers would have done, where they might have gone very hybrid and electronic or something like Jan said. He takes it the other way, and I think it's better for it. Brandon, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us as always, and everyone else, thank you. It's my pleasure to do these. Honestly, get to write a couple of, you know, music for a couple of hours and hang out with you guys is quite the job, I would say. I'm very, very lucky to be able to do it. So should be me thanking you guys, because yeah, this is a great way to spend a couple of hours on a Tuesday evening, and I'm just glad that other people like hanging out with me and sort of composing along. Xenos, thank you so much. Really glad you enjoyed it. As I say, we won't be here next week, but we'll be back the week after, and in the meantime there'll be stuff on the YouTube channel, so we're not going away. We're just yeah, busy with lots of cool stuff, and as I say, it'll all become clear in time. As Jan says, thanks for joining. Yes, we really do appreciate it. Cool. So I'm going to miss doing this next week. I got to be honest. It's become such a part of our kind of calendar that it's going to be weird not getting ready on the Tuesdays to do this. But I think we'll be back with even more enthusiasm the following Tuesday. So it's just a break, and we'll be back and roaring to go in the next couple of weeks, I suppose. Until then, happy composing, whatever you guys are up to, whatever you're doing. As I say, if you're not joining the Discord, make sure you do. It's a really growing community. We're on there, we're hanging out. I try and get on there as much as I can and listen to everything that you guys are doing and get involved in the conversations. So if you're not on there, do make sure you join, because it's a really great place to hang out. And Jan's saying, working on 2 customs for Diablo things. Wow, well, that's not a bad way to spend a Tuesday either, is it? I get to hop on fun right after this, kind of. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, 2 customs for Diablo. There are worse ways to spend a Tuesday. I'm going to have some dinner. Slightly less fun. I'm going to have some dinner, but you know, still going to be nice. And so whatever you guys are up to, yeah, happy composing and hope you're having a great day. And I look forward to seeing you not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after, where we will carry on with the composing fun. Take care, guys, and see you all soon. Bye-bye.